Hey everyone, it's Sean from Sean's Trains, and I'm here waiting in line at the Illinois Live Steamers to check out what's going on down here. I got a +1 invitation from the Steam channel to come down and check it out. I'm really looking forward to it. This hat is not going to apply much today because this stuff all makes its own sound. So I'm really excited to check it out, ask some questions, maybe get a couple interviews, and see how this goes. Stick around, we're gonna have a fun day.
Oh, that one. Oh,
The Climax,
really?
2.5-inch scale, coal-fired vertical boiler Climax, runs like a Swiss watch.
Nice.
Wow. Okay, now, something I've been telling people here lately, because just last night I found out the price of these box caps. These are locally made almost. They're made up by a guy in suburban Milwaukee.
Okay.
Not New Hampshire like my engine is. I could not believe the price when I pulled up his website. He wants $2,500 for them ready to run. My jawbone dropped off. I expected this to be at least $4,000.
Hungry again, or just tired of high?
Let's see, and if you're really in the market for something really nice, this locomotive right here will run you probably about $16,000, $17,000. Okay, delivered. And if you want to build it, great. You better have a complete machine shop.
Wow.
Now, moving on down to another locomotive down here that's for sale. Let's have a look at this little guy down here. Ain't that just a nice little beauty right there? Yes, it's for sale, and I know this for a fact because it's mine. Okay? Nice little coal-fired steamer, 1-inch scale, modeled after the locomotive that's in the Illinois Railway Museum that they suspect is the last surviving locomotive to be operated by Casey Jones. Okay, they think. Comes complete with a riding car, a bucket of coal, and a bottle of water treatment, as well as all your firing tools and everything else. And yes, as I said, it's for sale. I was running this last weekend, and I can't sit on the 1-inchers anymore because I get cramps terrible. But I did have a lot of fun running it. So anyway, that's about the extent of what's for sale right now. First, you must dig a trench approximately 14 inches wide. Put down weed guard, otherwise weeds will grow up through your track. It's a netting you put underneath there. Then you add rock or ballast, and you level it as much as you can, get it as level as you can. Then put your track down, and then proceed to ballast it and tamp the ballast down between the ties. Rail is available several places online. You can find it if you look. Discover Live Steam is a great place to find a lot of this stuff. DiscoverLiveSteam.com has a lot of used equipment as well, along with some of the suppliers are on there as well, and there's several other websites that you can look at to find a list of suppliers. Cars are available, good riding cars are available from a company called Tom B Online. Okay, you'll find him on Discover Live Steam as well. Pardon me. Steam locomotive kits are available out here too. Like Allen Models for one makes a very nice 10-wheeler that you see Carl running around over there. They also make a mogul and a consolidation, as well as a 040 switching locomotive. And several other engines too. Some of them are narrow gauge, which is 2.5-inch scale running on the 1.5-inch scale track. We have a couple examples of those in our barn right there. In fact, that one right there is for sale. Okay. The engine you just saw going by at one time was the most inexpensive way to get involved in the hobby, was that Cannonball Max switcher. These box cabs that I'll show you later are going to be even less expensive than that switcher, and in my opinion, a more quality locomotive. They're in the barn over there and available from a builder up in Wisconsin. A lot of our trains are scratch built. Like if you want to turn the camera around and see that Trainmaster over there, that was built down in Decatur, Illinois by a master builder. He fabricated every part of that locomotive.
When I was driving by that one earlier with another member, I noticed there was a lot of batteries tucked in that thing. I think it looks like it's got a lot of power.
It does.
What are some of the pros and cons between a battery electric locomotive like this and perhaps a gas hydraulic?
The definite advantage of battery is you can add sound system and still hear it over something like a gasoline switcher. Okay? The bad part about electrics is when they run out of juice, you're just dead in the water for 12 hours while it recharges. With the gasoline locomotives, you simply go get some more gasoline and you're off and running again. That little steam locomotive that the 060 you see the lady driving is actually an electric locomotive. But the 10-wheeler you see running is a full-blown live steamer. You look like you're having an awful lot of fun.
How? What is the maintenance difference between a live steam engine like what we're looking at on the other side of that tree and let's say an electric engine like that Trainmaster?
The electrics are virtually maintenance free. They just have to maintain the battery as you would a battery in an automobile. You have to keep them charged, you have to keep them full of water if they're wet cells. A live steamer, however, needs all the same maintenance that its larger counterparts on the real railroads did. You need to have water treatment for the boiler. You need to grease every moving part. You need to do everything to this locomotive that its real-life counterpart needs. The only thing is, this engine does not have sanders. That is where the similarities end, is with the sanders. But everything else is identical. Lubrication is a big thing, a very big factor.
Now, would you be able to tell me a little bit more about the gas hydraulics, like here on this SD 45, the Rio Grande?
Well, that is not a 16-horse, two-cylinder engine, which in my opinion is a whole lot more power than these engines need. But just the same, it is a hydraulic unit, and there are hydraulic motors on each one of the trucks. You can see them if you look at them right now. Those hydraulic motors that run them, and it's got motors going through it. A much simpler version is this small switching locomotive right here. This too is hydraulically powered and gasoline. We have a 4-horse Kohler engine and an Eaton hydrostatic transmission, which is hydraulically powered. That transmission is brakes and power in one tiny little package.
Looks very efficient, very good use of space.
It works very good. I, in fact, duplicated this with a higher horsepower locomotive, and unfortunately, someone came along, caught me in a moment of weakness, and I sold it to them.
So what was something like that going to run you as far as building it or purchasing one ready to run?
Purchasing one of these ready to run, you cannot get them you can get them from Railroad Supply, but however, Railroad Supply only offers these in electrics now. It is
Gotcha.
no longer gasoline hydraulic. But the price is probably about $3,500.
Okay.
You'll take 3 of them. Put your feet up.
So as far as equipment goes, actually, let me get back to the ballast a little bit, because I noticed when I was riding around this beautiful landscape that around some of the buildings that there was some very good drainage work with pipes from the buildings. Is that to prevent washouts?
Very important. You don't want water to collect on your railroad because it will rot your ties.
Gotcha.
Okay, drainage is very, very important.
So my next question was about the ties. Would you?
And that's one of the great pitfalls.
Would you recommend the plastic or poly ties over the wooden ties?
Those are definitely gaining popularity. Plastic ties are definitely becoming more and more common. They're available online and so forth. Several manufacturers make them. Some of them actually pre-gauge your track, so you don't have to worry about gauging it or anything like that. Now, on curves, the gauge needs to be slightly wider. Okay, it cannot be a full 7.5. 7.5 is good for the straight sections, but it needs to be more along the lines of about 7 5/8 on a curve. If it's a sharp curve, even wider. Okay, the ties are often sold with that in mind, with the gauge just slightly wider. They also make switch kits with the plastic ties. So a lot of this is available now, which not very recent, up till very recently wasn't available. Everything had to be manufactured with wooden ties where you cut your own ties. These are pressure treated oak, by the way.
How often would you say that you guys find yourselves replacing ties on this railroad? Now, this is a much larger railroad than I'd say anyone in their backyard probably has. But if you laid, let's say, 200 feet of track, when would you expect to start doing track maintenance?
Depends on the kind of winters that you have, for one thing, because that's what causes more trouble with the railroad than anything. One deep freeze, if it stays there, everything's fine. But when it freezes and thaws and freezes and thaws, that can wreak havoc on your railroad. But just the same, the amount of maintenance you're looking at, we have ties out here that have been in the ground for 10 years. So,
okay.
plastic, of course, is going to last eternity. As we can see with our environment, by throwing water bottles away, they don't go away.
Have you had problems with the screws getting stripped out of those plastic ties?
We don't have too many plastic ties here, so we really haven't experimented that much with them. We've got a few plastic ties, but we did not buy them from the manufacturer. We simply used the recycled plastic lumber and used that. So
okay.
we kind of cut our own, so to speak.
Now, while the ties that we see on the surface may not look very tall as far as they're sitting, I've seen sections where it looks like they could be 3 to 4 inches deep.
They're not quite the width of a 2x4, but they're very close. They're about 3 inches in all cases.
Okay.
But they are buried down there to keep a stable running surface for the trains. Some of these locomotives go over 1,000 pounds, so the track has to be very stable for them.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. This has been very helpful. I'm looking forward to getting some more information. Maybe
You want to see those box cabs that I'm talking to you about that are very economical.
Absolutely.
Bay number 4, track 2 on the top.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay. I could not believe when I saw the price of those locomotives. They're made by a man up in Wisconsin, so they're fairly local. You could drive up there. His price for those locomotives were $2,500. I could not believe they were that low. If I was in the market for a small switching locomotive like that, that would be the engine I would go for.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Tell me when. This locomotive is one of 8 known to exist that was built from the castings that were offered back in the late 50s, early 60s by a man named Walter E. Disney. Yes, that Walt Disney. His initials are right here in the casting of this wheel, as well as all the other pilot wheels. This is of the 8 known to exist, this is the only one they know of that runs. The museum out in California would like Dave to donate this train to them, and he says donate, right. No, there will be no donation. This is a magnificent running locomotive. It's powered by propane, because who would want to get such a beautiful locomotive dirty with nasty old coal? Okay? It's a fine running locomotive, and everybody seems to like it. And of course, it is truly a Disney artifact. Walt Disney himself actually had his hands on these castings.
That's incredible.
I hope I have informed you. Since Dave himself, this transfer table was built with Vermont speeder wheels running on regular rails, and it's how we get the engines in and out. We have these. Okay, they're not there right now. I don't know where they are. Here's one. We have these bridges that go between the rails and the engine house and the rails on the steaming bays. The steaming bays are where we have the steamers up high, so everything on the bottom can be lubricated while we're firing them up. After they're fired up, they get taken to the center track over there, where they're allowed to go out onto the main line and off to the main line. For the diesels and so forth that are on the lower level, what you see right here is is how they get out of there. They come across and go straight out to the main this way because diesels don't require very much maintenance. And now I got to go rescue my locomotive.
Thank you for your time. All right, so I just got done running a train for a little bit. Man, was that cool. That was so cool. It was just a little speeder, enough for one person to sit on and one person behind him. Brad's got it with a few cars right now. We're gonna work on parking. I hope I'm in the right spot to help him out. I'm hoping for a couple more interviews to talk about operating some stuff in live steam and what it's like to actually own this stuff. In fact, there he is right now. And because I want to know, does this have to be as expensive as it looks, or is there a way to do it on a budget? I know in model railroading we can make this stuff more expensive all the time. It's just something that we do. We don't necessarily intend it, but we certainly make it happen that way. So I want to find out. The speeder in the car that he's got was $3,500. That's not bad. A little battery powered thing. I think it's 2 batteries in there. That's pretty neat. That works out. That'd be perfect for me. And then there's this little gray engine going around, this little triaxle here, that I think would be perfect for actually doing some grunt work, for moving some logs and some ballast. So I think that's the case. I got to talk to Steam Channel, had a good conversation or two with him, got some great food. This has been an amazing day. I thank you so much for this opportunity. This has been a blast. I think I'm gonna have to see about joining a club. This was fun. This is about a 2-hour drive to the Illinois Live Steamers, just outside of Joliet. So it's about 2 hours from Waukesha, probably an hour 45 minutes from Milwaukee, straight down 94, 294, and 355. And take a look at this little guy. That little battery electric locomotive right there is pulling the guy around with his 2 flat cars and his caboose, and he's just as happy as can be. I mean, what more do you really need? I mean, right there, I could see why people can just hang out on these things all day long. There's Brad over there. There's another train right here. This has been an absolutely awesome day. Riding these things is nowhere near as cool as operating these things. Oh, let's get back out there. There we go. So I gotta put the phone down and help this guy switch some cars.
I bought the train in 2011, I think it was. A year after I joined the club. And so anyway, it's a 260 by Tom B out of Royal Oak, Michigan. I paid $9,500 for the engine and tender. It used to have a brake system, has a brake system on the whole train. But the brake system used to be inside the boiler. Every time it got 90 degrees outside, it would quit working. So I had no brakes. So I hired a guy from the club to put in a brake system. Now I have a brake system. It's in here. And this controls regular brake system with air compressor, switch, relay switch and everything in it, a tank. And that controls all my brakes on I hook them up and it controls all my brakes. My brakes right here. So I control it right here. And now since I did that, I have no trouble anymore.
Nice.
What's the stop? So anyway.
I suppose having air brakes like that are probably pretty helpful when you have larger trains with people on them.
See, it looks how high it looks up that way.
Yeah.
Look how low it looks down that way.
Big hill.
Big hill. So normally the train is going this way. And normally the train will go up this way and we come down this track right here. This is downward track. Normally, this is downward track. So normally we go up the hill, around the circle, and we come down this hill.
Gotcha.
And on the other side, we go down, there's a hill up there, and then it's downhill all the way down to the bottom. So
Okay.
you don't have brakes.
That's trouble.
No, that's trouble. So, yeah, you don't have brakes, you're in big trouble. And I learned that early in life. So anyway, so now I got to get this train back to its storage place right over there.
Thanks for tuning in to Sean's Trains today. I had a wonderful experience here at the Illinois Life Steamers thanks to the Steam Channel and everyone here at the club. As it turns out, today was actually a day of two clubs. There was a modelers or Model Railroad Collectors Club that was here today that was helping out, and this is a club that is not open to the public. It's by special invitation and for private events. And I am just so blessed to be here to experience this not once but for my second time. Today I learned more about live steam than I've ever learned in my entire life. And I gotta say, the club members here have just been the best to work with. Special thanks to everyone who was willing to take me out and show me the ropes on a few different things. I got to run some trains with Brad and actually participate in some switching. I learned that there are different needs for railroads like this versus something you might have in your backyard. You have to be much more strict and way more on top of your maintenance for a railroad like this that sees such regular and repeated traffic. Locomotives like big boys and northerns come pounding down the rails. That requires a lot more maintenance and a lot more care than something that you might have in your own backyard for your own private railroad. If you have people over, if you have the public, if your railroad serves its own purpose, like what I intend mine to do for hauling logs and stone, then those would be different needs than something like this. I learned that drainage is critical to make sure that you don't have standing water or washouts, especially in a railroad like this. Regular inspections down to the ties that you use and the rail you use could be critical to the safety of your railroad. This is more than a couple steps up from your regular model railroad. This is something that your safety depends on, and you need to make sure that you're not only using quality products and quality materials, but you're putting in quality labor, that you have the knowledge and experience to do something like this in your own backyard. If you're looking into live steam like I am, Illinois Live Steamers would be a great place to start. Find someone who's local here or find someone who's affiliated with the club and find out about coming to an event. More information can be found at Illinois Live Steamers on their website. Go ahead and give them a quick Google. They'll come up. It's a beautiful railroad with some wonderful people. And it was a very magical day for me. So thanks again to everyone at the Illinois Live Steamers for making this a wonderful trip, and I hope it's going to be an amazing journey. Until next time, we'll see you on Sean's Trains.